Let's be honest, there's no guidebook when it comes to relationships. So we end up having to stumble through life trying to figure things out for ourselves. What if there was a podcast that found the answers for you, that provided insight to build a successful relationship and ultimately find the companionship you've always hoped for? Welcome to the Girls Ask Guys show, where we answer the questions most people are afraid to ask when it comes to lessons in life and love. It's time to master this thing called life together with your hosts, John and Ashley.
And welcome back. Hey, we've got a great show for you today, but we do want to let you know that Ashley is off-site, so she's going to be sounding just a little bit different today. But we do have a great show because here is your micro course that you are asking for on how to meet someone.
Yay, we're going to finally meet someone. I'm so excited. We've been talking about dating forever, and we've been talking about different signs, warnings, but if you are single and you listen to this show and you want to get back on the horse or you're divorced or whatever, this is where we start to really get into learning about ourselves, learning about how to speak to other people and things like that.
Yeah, so we're going to go through this and we're going to break this down into 3 separate episodes. So you have part 1 through 3 is going to be today. Our next episode is going to be steps 4 through 6. And the episode after that is going to be steps 6 through 9. So there's 9 total steps, but we're going to take you from beginning to end, changing yourself, making sure everything is set up for those dates, and then how to actually go out and talk to somebody and hopefully get them interested enough that they actually want to go out with you. Doing this authentically and with integrity. There's no manipulation involved.
Yeah, that's not a thing. Just so you guys know that we practice or preach about manipulation is a ridiculous way of trying to get someone to date you. As a matter of fact, I honestly consider manipulation to be a form of the R word because they're not consenting. They are being forced, and I don't appreciate it. So if you want to learn how to manipulate women or men, go on YouTube.
Yeah, go someplace else because this is not the show for you. Now, if you want a real relationship, something that is going to last, go ahead, keep listening. And we also do have a PDF that is included with this show. Depending on what platform you're listening on, that PDF you might be able to directly download, or you might have to go out to our site and download it from there. But these PDFs will actually help you through this.
Right. I was going to say, if you don't have access to the PDFs, make sure you go on our website. We will always make sure you guys have access to this, but also hang around a little bit, listen to step 1 through 3 if you like it. Then maybe we'll do some more stuff with you guys when it comes to meeting people and taking you on a very fun journey. So let's just jump into this.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump on into this. So if you have the PDFs downloaded, if you're able to see it, great. If not, you can always come back, re-listen, and follow along with us. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is be brutally honest with yourself. You're going to have to take a few minutes with this, and you're going to write down how you see yourself right now. Are you dateable? Are you not dateable?
Yeah. And when we say be honest, I mean, like, look deepward and say, this is how you see yourself. And don't be afraid to hurt your own feelings. Also, don't be afraid to lift yourself up. Because I kind of want you guys to get in the habit of understanding that while, yes, as people, we have flaws, also, there's some great stuff about me. So when you're doing this, make sure you balance it out. Not all good things, not bad things, maybe too great, too horrible. Just really get a balance going on there.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're not lying to yourself. So if you're saying you're the greatest person out there, well, that's not exactly true. I've run across people that have done this. Yeah. Now, after you go through this, you can say you are great at something, but you don't want to set yourself up for failure. You have to dig deep, look at yourself and see, this is how I see myself today. Now, the next part that you're going to do is, how do you think others see you? Because you want to make sure that those two are going to be lining up. The best way I know how to do this, find somebody you really trust and ask them, why do you like me?
And then, and then the next step after that. Remember, guys, we're going through these quickly. But it might take you a day or two just to get through a couple of these questions because they're not easy. When you really have to face yourself and realize who you are and how others see you, and you have that reality check, it kind of hurts. So don't be afraid to get all mavericky, as Sarah Palin would say. Get all up in there and just kind of really look inward, really go to someone you trust, and not someone who's just going to tell you a bunch of great things. Someone whose opinion you value also. Because if you just ask a random stranger on the street, it doesn't mean shit. But if you really sit and talk to your parents or, your best friend or someone, it'll help you realize how you come off, and it'll also really just hit home, and it matters when those people are the ones telling you.
Yeah, and there could be some things in there that they say that you really don't like. But those are the things that you need to know, because that is when you go out and you meet somebody, that's what you're projecting. And it could be one of those hang-ups that you're going to have to fight through before somebody actually takes notice and takes interest in you.
Yeah, it's true. And when you finally decide of how you would like to be seen, because I think that's where we're moving on to next, right?
Yes.
Yep. When you finally decide how you want to be seen, go back and look at how others see you and figure out why the hell if you want to be seen as intelligent, but others think you're an idiot, figure out how the hell you got like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've run into people and they are just constant entertainers.
Yeah.
So people can have, they're always on. You can go anywhere with them and they're always cracking jokes. Yeah, I love hanging out with you, but you're hard to take seriously.
Right. And you don't, if that's who you want to be the joker, that's fine. But accept that certain things, because you do certain things, like John said, if you crack jokes all the time, that people might not want to invite you out to their wedding, Yeah. Because you'll ruin it with your garbage jokes.
Or it could be that, they could see you as somebody fun to hang out with, but again, they can't see a long-term relationship with you. And it's one of those hang-ups that you kind of have to be able to overcome. Right. So how would you like to be seen? Now, if you take a look at how you see yourself today and how other people see you and how you would like to be seen, what's the common trait? That's what you want to build up. That's the value you're going to give somebody. And that dovetails right into the next part, which is these are the steps I'm willing to do. This is the work I'm willing to put in to become that person.
Right. And you need to be honest with these steps. And they need to be actionable steps. So don't say, I'm going to go get a tummy tuck tomorrow in order to be seen the way I want to. No, you're going to have to, lose the weight, so to speak. Also, make sure that these changes are gradual and you don't want to just introduce things. Because if you're anything like me, here's what happens. I start doing something, I get really, really into it, and then 10 years later, I forgot about it. I don't allow things to become habits as much as I do obsessions. So when you introduce these changes, allow some gradual time to build up to creating a new habit.
Yeah, you want this to be sustainable. You want it to be lifelong. It's not easy. I mean, I've been doing this for going on 30 years. So
it's work.
Yeah, it's work. And every now and then I catch myself where I'm starting to backslide on something and I'm like, oh, wait, I've got to get back into doing that in order to maintain the lifestyle and the life that I want.
And these 5 questions? These 5 questions are easier. What was I going to say? These 5 questions get easier over time. So I would say keep this sheet and go over it. Every time you find yourself slipping, like John said, just go back to it. Come back to it. Review it. Use it like a guide for you to kind of go through life. That's actually what we're all about. So.
Yeah, and this is going to work in not just your relationships. This crosses over into your friendships. It crosses over into your business relations. It crosses into work. It crosses over into many different things. So if you're wondering, how come I'm not getting that promotion? And you go talk to your boss or your manager, what do I need to do to get that promotion or to get that pay raise? I ask that question straight up to the people that I work with. I ask them, what do I need to do? They tell me, and I'm like, I'm already doing that. That's how I see it. but there's something that they are not seeing that I'm trying to accomplish. Okay, so how do you see me doing this? Well, you need to tighten up here. You need to be a little bit more here. You need to be a little bit less here. Okay, now I know where I need to go. That's why you ask somebody you trust how they see you.
Right, and be receptive also.
Yeah, you
don't
can't get mad at
ask,
them.
Right, don't ask somebody, hey, what's wrong with me? And then when they start listing things, get very defensive, because after all, this once again is about changing, and to know who you are and to understand who you are as a person is an invaluable piece of life that most people don't even have because they aren't receptive.
Yeah,
you know, you're not receptive. And if you're not receptive, what's the point?
Yeah, that's one of the big divides between what we do versus what a lot of other relationship coaches or pickup artists do. Yeah, you can go out, you can meet a whole bunch of people, but your relationships have no substance to them. And this is about building a relationship or a friendship built on substance.
There's 0 point to trying to find someone in a meaningful relationship. There's absolutely 0 point in doing that if you're not going to be willing to change yourself. The whole point of a relationship, and whether it be business or friends, is to elevate your life. And if you're the same person you were last year, how do you expect to find something that's going to elevate your life if you're not willing to change? So, I mean, just keep that in mind as we keep going.
Yeah. Okay, so the next part is this is just a basic checklist that, amazingly enough, we have to go over with a lot of different people. And one of those is hygiene. Because if you don't see yourself as being a dateable person, or if you're caught in some kind of depression or something else, or you don't see yourself as having to impress anybody, your hygiene kind of starts taking a back seat. Instead of showering every day, it's every 3 days, or even worse, once a week. So you kind of have to take those into account and get used to doing that. Because for myself, I never know where I'm going to meet somebody. I could go out 5 minutes from now and bump into somebody. Now, if I wasn't clean, my clothes weren't washed, they're not, at least have fewer wrinkles than normal. So I go through and I actually press all my shirts and stuff. But say I just took it out of the dryer and threw it on. Okay? But making sure that your teeth are brushed, your hair is combed, you're presentable. So you look like you're put together. Okay, that's the first stage of meeting somebody. Do they want to talk to you, or are they trying to constantly step back because your body odor is too much? Or worst case scenario, you drenched yourself in cologne or perfume and it's obnoxious.
Oh, God, you smell like a fucking Macy's department store. Don't do that. People don't like it. But also, when the hygiene thing it's more mental, believe it or not, is sometimes you're drowning in a sea of depression, and to be able to do those things that people consider normal is a lot. So when you start to develop proper hygiene habits, you really change it. Your mind starts to change. The way you act starts to change. Also, if you smell bad, take a shower. You know, it's just, who wants... I can understand if you approach somebody in a gym and you're all sweaty, that's different. But average time when you approach somebody, you should have already showered. Your teeth should be brushed. You shouldn't smell bad. Your room should be clean. And once again, it's just a habit. It's creating good habits to find a good person. You have to have good habits.
Yeah, and Ashley just touched on it, but you want to make sure that your place is clean, it's decent, and your car is also the same way. Because let's just paint a little picture here. You go to a store, you happen to meet somebody, you get into conversation, you're walking through the entire store with them, they like you. Hey, would you like to hang out? Sure. Would you like to go get something to eat? You look all put together and everything, but they get out to your car, they open the door, and you've got trash and empty water bottles and stuff falling out of the passenger seat. It just ended right there.
Right.
You're not as put together as you presented yourself. Same thing if you go out to a club. Okay, things escalated, and now they're coming back to your place. The car is clean, but as soon as they walk in, it smells. You've got dirty laundry over the workout machine that you never use. It's hanging over the couch or the chair. The carpet is disgusting. It's those kind of things. If you present yourself one way, it has to carry through to every other area of your life.
Yep, it has to. I mean, it really has to. And if it doesn't, then here's the thing. I don't understand the concept of you wanting to be in a place where you want to date and it's not cohesive. If you want to date, it needs to be cohesive, like I keep saying. And it needs to be able to sort of translate.
Yeah, everything has to be congruent. If one thing's out of kilter, they start questioning themselves. What's up with this? Something's not adding up. That's when red flags go off and, okay, we can do this for a week or two, but after that, I'm out of here. Okay, they just can't see anything long term. And if that's your goal is something long term, it has to be congruent across the board. Now, the next part of this is you need to actually practice your approach. Okay? It sounds crazy. It sounds weird. But it needs to be practiced a little bit. My standard approach, it depends on where I'm at. So there's 3 different kinds of approach that you can take. You can do the cold approach. This comes from the pickup artist world, but it breaks down so it's easily understandable. The cold approach. Simply walk up. Hi, how are you? Okay. Very simple.
Very simple.
It takes some guts for a lot of people. Now, you can do an opinion type approach. And I've used this one. I could be at a department store, any department store, pick one. I have 2 shirts. There's a nice looking girl over there. Excuse me. Which one of these shirts do you think looks better? I like that one. Really? Why? And there's the conversation. Wow, it just started. Now, there is a transition. You have to get off the shirt. You can't talk about that forever.
Right.
But
we'll deal with transitions later.
Yeah, transitions we'll deal with later. This is just getting you used to walking up and talking to somebody.
Then we have the situational approach. And this is kind of a, what do you think of this party? To me, the situational approach is the easiest, and it's the one that will always have someone's guard let down a little bit. It's not as uncomfortable because you're already somewhere, you're already doing something, you already have, a shared activity that you're into. And I think as far as taking a first step, this is the approach I would use when it comes to putting myself back out there. It's just not as weird as the other 2, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the opinion approach can be used for just about anything. And really, you're just asking a question. But the situational approach, it takes in your environment. Okay, so if you're in a line at a movie theater and it's wrapped around the block because it's a new blockbuster movie coming out, person standing in front of you, next to you, behind you, whatever.
Right.
You're there to watch the movie, but you can open up with, man, if this line was any longer, I would have brought a coffin. Yeah, it's kind of funny. They get a little joke out of it, whatever. But it breaks the ice. So what have you heard about this movie?
Yep.
There you go. Now you're talking something.
I enjoyed this person. Yep, yeah. Exactly. It's so comfortable to me. I think that's why I say it's the best one, because it's comfort. It's easier to talk to someone. And if you're in a restaurant or store, usually, actually, let's go back to the movie. Let's go back to the movie one. If you're waiting on a very long line, people are already bored, So to be able to give them that conversation is awesome, and you help, and then you have to transition, obviously, and try and get their number and stuff. But I think my challenge to you is to just kind of try one of these approaches and see where it lands you. Yeah. Write us in, let us know. I just want you to just kind of try one of them. Try all 3 of them if you want. Let us know which one worked best.
Yeah, you don't have to transition into anything. I mean, if it happens naturally, fine. But really, you just have to get over that inkling of first fear of starting a conversation with somebody you have absolutely no knowledge of. That right. Total stranger.
And I know some of you are thinking, Ashley, John, whoa. You want me to talk to somebody. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's actually how you actually develop a relationship.
That's how you do it. And then let's practice first before we go out and just randomly start asking strangers questions. And the reason that we say practice is not so that you have this regimented robot-like structure of conversation in your hand, but so you can see what you look like when you're talking. If you're constantly talking with your hands and you're constantly being weird with your hands, once you start to see these are things you can correct. If you're constantly looking down when you talk, if your shoulders aren't back, or, all of these things are things you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of who you are.
Yeah, and you at least have something, so you're not tripping over your words. I mean, if I'm sitting in a department store, I've got 2 shirts, I turn around and I'm like, okay, now I'm not confident. Right. And they're just like, what do you want? I mean, now I'm coming off weird.
Right.
But I can just practice that standing in front of a mirror. Record yourself so you hear what you sound like. Yep. Your voice needs to have like this tone. It goes up and down, and it comes off very natural. Now, don't get stuck on just using these. Be inventive. Being inventive actually will help you. So it doesn't matter what situation you're in or what kind of opinion you're asking for. It just flows naturally.
Yep.
And these flags aren't going off. Like, what does this person want from me?
Yeah. And believe it or not, you can be inventive and interesting without being obnoxious. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You just have to talk. And that's the thing. A lot of people will say, go out, strut your stuff. I believe in the weird communities, they call it peacocking. But don't do that. Be casual. Be you. You are the person. How do I phrase this? You are the person that they're looking for. They're not looking for a different version of you. They're looking for you. And if you are not obnoxious, if you don't like to wear loud colors, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to go out and get all weird and fancy with stuff.
Right. You don't have to shout and all of this.
And another course and stuff like that, we get into the body language and stuff like that you kind of want to pay attention to. But with this, you just start the conversation. And if it ends within 2-3 minutes, hey, count that as a win. You actually talk to somebody. And that's what you start off, just talking with people, and then you'll find where the conversation goes, which is the next part of this. You want to evaluate. Okay, so you want to sit down and I met her here. I opened with this, and we started talking about this. Okay, evaluate yourself. Did it go smoothly? Was it rough? Did it start out okay, but it started to trail off and get a little bit weird? You want to document this so that you can go back and you can look at it and go, this is where I'm having problems.
Right.
If you know where the problem is at, you can fix it. But if you're just kind of going through and it's like hit and miss and you don't know, well, that one worked, but this one didn't, but I didn't do anything differently. How come? What happened here? And now everything's left to chance.
Yeah, and take into consideration if things go bad. It's not always your fault things go wrong. Sometimes people are having a bad day. So just keep that in mind also when you're journaling and you're charting. Just remember that there's a part of it that's not completely your fault, but also how you react to it is going to have a big impact on whether or not you continue with this process.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this entire PDF is the for my next conversation part. And the reason that I have that there is not so that you can plan and once again become robotic, but it means it gives you I love guide maps. I really do. I love being able to structure my day and have a topic I want to talk about, kind of like what we do for show prep here. So really take that into consideration as you continue.
The whole reason that you're doing this so that you have some kind of map, like Ashley said, as to where you need to go and what you need to improve upon. Because if you don't know what you need to improve upon, everything's left to chance. And you don't know why the relationship worked. You don't know why you approached this person, but it didn't work with this person. Now,
Right.
again, they could have just gotten fired. They could have found out that their dog died, or their car isn't working, or they just got this massive bill and their mind is on that.
And some people are just grumpy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And there are people that they're constantly filtering, and it's what we call, from the pick and forest world, it's what we call the bitch test. Guys also do this. It's less common, but it's more common with some women because they're constantly being approached. That's why we like the situational approach and the opinion approach, because their guard isn't as
they're already
high.
expecting to be approached. Right.
Yeah. Their guard isn't as high. So if you make a little quip or you're asking for an opinion, their red flags and their guard doesn't go up quite as fast. And if it's done properly, you can actually slide in around the corner, and next thing you know, now you're in a conversation that leads to a relationship.
And we're not saying that the next person you see in the world you're going to jump into a relationship with.
Yeah,
That's not true.
That's not true.
It shouldn't be true.
This whole thing is a process. Now, there might be like 1, maybe 2% out there. The first time you try this, boom, it happens for you. The vast majority of you expect it not to work exactly 100% as planned. It might take you 8, 9, 10 tries of documenting and looking at it and going, okay, this is where I messed up. This is where I messed. Why do I keep doing this?
Yep. Happens to me.
Yeah.
It's
happened
going
to
to
me.
happen. It's going to. It has to. And if you think for some reason it's not going to, and you're going to nail this out of the park on the first shot, then what the fuck are you? I hate to sound like this, but what are you doing here? The reason that we have this roadmap down is so that you're able to really reflect and document your journey. And the only way that's going to work is if you're honest with your journey and you humble yourself into thinking, you know what, I'm going to at least try.
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing depends on how much work you're willing to put into it. And really, the work is up on that top page. How you see yourself, how other people see you. Okay, how do I want to be seen? And these are the steps I'm willing to do. If you're not willing to do that, and you just kind of like, oh, I really don't need to do that, you're not going to see as much success. I guarantee it. If you're not willing to put in the work, it's not going to work. Now, the next part of this is, so you kind of went over the conversation, but what's one thing you noticed during the conversation? Did they start backing away from you? Did they come closer to you? Did their body turn more towards you? Were they asking questions back? Were they engaged? That you just need to pick something that you actually noticed out of the conversation. And the more conversations you have, the more things you're going to notice.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to, and they could be positive and negative. Something negative that you noticed. They started walking away from me halfway through me asking another question. Okay, it could have been your tone of voice. My recommendation is when you do these, get your phone out, put it on voice record, and record the conversation. Because there are things that you do that you don't notice. I notice it all the time as I'm going through, I'm editing these podcasts.
Yep.
Little things that I say, I'm like, I need to knock it off. So
yeah.
Those are things that you need to document so you can actually make a change. I'm not talking loud enough. I talk too loud. I stuttered. I was fumbling over my words. It takes practice, but you have to know what you're doing wrong in order to correct it.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be a very, very fun process for some of you. Some of you, it's going to be very hard to do because you're going to have to face a lot of realities about yourself. But the goal ultimately is to be able to approach and possibly get a date. And we want you guys to do that. We want you to be successful in your relationships. I mean, maybe if you don't want to get the date, maybe you want to get the promotion, maybe you want to get, I don't know, that raise. But we want you to really put this into practice and begin developing better habits, especially with the hygiene and the eating and the diet. So as we go further into this, we'll talk more about all of those things. We both have had major life transformations. I mean, I'm not the same person I was when I was 16. As a matter of fact, 16-year-old Ashley is a degenerate weirdo. But we both had extremely, extremely successful changes in our personality, and we've crafted this so that you can do the same, and hopefully it takes you less time and less rehab money than it took me.
Yeah. Yeah, because even my 16-year-old self, my 18-year-old self, even my 22-year-old self would be amazed at what I've accomplished and what I've been able to do up to this point. I mean, my life did not happen by accident. I'm probably the most analytical person out there.
Very much. And I'm quite lackadaisical in my living situation. So in order for us to make this show work, we still had to do some of these things. I mean, we're going to post our PDFs up there for some content so you guys can understand how these are done. I mean, they're obviously very simple. You just write them in. But we want you to know that you're not the only people going through this. We are both going to go through this entire program with you. We're going to kill it.
Yeah. I mean,
John might even get a date.
I have to warn the people that I'm actually going out with at the moment. But yeah, but the other thing that you need to do to just kind of get to the point where we're wrapping this up, the last thing you need to do on this is you need to pick one thing that you want to improve. So you've noticed what was going wrong and what's going right in the conversation, but there's always something that we can improve. So that could be you need to walk a little bit further upright. You need to be able to project your voice, especially in a loud environment. So if you're trying to use this at a club or something like that, you need to be able to project your voice. It could be how you dress. You need to find your own style and make a change there. It could be anything. You just need to pick something that you want to improve upon, because that's the value that's going to become the basis of the value that you're going to be able to give the other person. If they see no value in you, they don't want to hang out with you.
Yep.
Yeah, it becomes a friendship of utility instead of a friendship of pleasure or a friendship of hope. Those are three types of friendships that are out there. I forget the philosopher that actually discovered those, but you don't want a friendship of utility. Okay?
Nope.
Okay, so tips when you are approaching somebody. The first one is look them in the eye and smile.
Right.
It's very basic.
Don't be weird. Yeah. Don't. When you approach somebody, I need you to think about it like this. The way I think about approaching is, if I came up to me, how would I talk to me?
Yeah.
Some people will straight up walk up to you and be like, I'm the center of attention, watch me, do this, do this, do this, do this. And it's very aggressive and very uncomfortable to watch. Some people will be shy about it, and then it's very uncomfortable to watch too, because there's no confidence. But if you're able to have a conversation with somebody, like you do with everyone else, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And when you look somebody in the eye, it builds trust. And when you're smiling, it enhances that trust. But if you're just like staring at them, that becomes creepy. Friendly eye contact is held for about 1.8 seconds. Romantic eye contact lasts for about 2 to 3 seconds. It's a friggin' eternity.
It is a very long 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's a very long 2 seconds, but a romantic eye contact happens and it just like flashes by. You don't even realize you're doing it. But you need to keep that in mind. Okay. The next one is practice walking. Yeah, I said walking. It sounds freaking weird.
I don't get this either, but he's like, John is dead set on this walking thing. He won't let it go. I don't get it. But he's very, very convinced that the way you walk has a lot to do with how you represent yourself.
Yeah, it actually does. What I've done with people that I've trained in the past, we've gone to the mall. Even if you don't like going to the mall, go to the mall. Sit in the food court and just watch people pass by.
Yeah,
now,
I like that.
You're actually you will see a lot of people, their shoulders are hunched over and they're constantly looking at the ground. They don't even see the people passing by them. They see the feet moving, but that's about it. Also, when you watch somebody, when they start to walk, they kind of lean forward and then they take a step. It's like a controlled fall. If you walk from the waist down, you actually reach out and plant your foot and then let your body follow. It forces you to walk upright.
I don't understand what any of that means.
It shows confidence. Look at some of your biggest A-list movie stars, or watch corporate CEOs, people who are in high management positions that command a lot of respect. Watch how they walk, and they walk upright. They walk from the waist down. They don't lean forward and then kind of fall forward.
So weird. I've never thought about it that hard. Because I've never thought about it. But when you say it, like, now I'm thinking, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of freaking sense, man. So practice your walking,
there's
guys.
Science, there is science and psychology behind this. I didn't make any of this stuff up. Now, when I was going through these courses and we were kind of evaluating how we would actually sit there and we would walk back and forth, and people would say, hey, you're hunched forward, your shoulders back, you're not looking up. We wouldn't get it. But then I started actually diving into it and looking at successful people.
Right, how they walk. Like George Jefferson.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And I found the science, the human behavioral sciences behind it. I forget the university that actually conducted the study. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, people who walked upright and showed confidence, how you walk shows an air of confidence about you. They were more successful at getting a date or meeting somebody the first time than somebody who just kind of, I don't know, slothed over.
Schlepping along. You're not even walking, we're just schlepping. All right, cool. Yeah. All right, so practice your walking.
Hand gestures. Ashley touched on this earlier. There are people out there, when they're very nervous, their hands are all over the damn place.
It's weird, just flailing. Don't flail.
Yeah. Keep control of your hand gestures. And there is body language and gestures as well. Palms up show something positive. Palms down show something negative. There's all that kind of stuff. You don't want your hands stuck in your pocket either.
Right. And remember, hand movement is natural. It's natural for you to talk with your hands. So don't overdo it. But still, I mean, just
be conscious of it.
Be conscious, yeah. And if you want to keep your hands in your pocket, it shows to me, and I'm not sure the science and psychology behind this, but it's a very nervous habit to keep your hands in your pocket. I think it's actually one of the most damning things for men is because they can't keep their fucking hands out of their pocket.
Yeah, and there's other things that you can do. That's for a much larger course than we'll be able to cover in this. But there are things that you can do. We used to practice we put one hand in a pocket if we were like all over the damn place. The way that we figured that out is we had a friend video record us while we're talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
Just be very careful when you're doing that, because you can get banned from certain establishments for recording.
Make sure you have consent, and that's the thing.
Yeah, make sure you have consent.
Key.
Yeah.
Don't just start filming people.
Yeah. Do it like at a park or someplace outdoors where you're not going to get in trouble for recording your interactions with somebody.
Right on.
If you're wondering how come I don't have a whole bunch of videos up like these other guys do, this is why. Because I can get into serious trouble recording on somebody's private establishment.
Not only that,
like a huge no-no. Yeah, you don't need a lot of video. You need like one or two, just kind of like, okay, yeah, my hands are all over the damn place, and I keep stepping in, and she keeps stepping back. I need to quit it.
Right.
So that's actually the last part, is recording yourself, and not just your voice, but your interactions with other people. And that kind of gives you a basis. Yeah.
You know, there's people who do this thing, and it's a very, very serious coping mechanism. It's called being intentionally off-putting. It's a coping mechanism, no matter how people want to sell it or spin it in the media. What you do is you intentionally show the worst parts about yourself to people so that if they run away, it's not their fault. Are you one of those people? And you need to really, that's one of the things you really need to look at. Do you look receptive? Do you have resting bitch face? These are things you need to record, and not just record, things you need to record, and also things you need to be aware of. So when you're recording yourself, actually record yourself and actually watch you. Because I've seen a picture of my face when I'm angry, and it really changed how I dealt with my anger. So when you're able to see that reflection, just use it, and please be honest and open with yourself. I cannot stress enough how many people have failed because they refuse to be honest. That's what this whole thing is about.
Yeah. In order for you to show that you have something to offer somebody else, you have to be able to show that you can take care of yourself and that you actually like who you are. If you don't like who you are, how is anybody else supposed to like you?
I agree. Be honest. As we go through this, you're going to get parts 3, 4 through 6 next time. As we go through this, I cannot stress enough how you need to be receptive to who you are. And it's okay to have flaws. It's okay. The problem isn't that you have flaws. The problem is you haven't done shit about it. And now you're going to.
Yeah. You need to take 100% responsibility for yourself and for your life.
All right.
So with that, we will see you on the next one, where we cover steps 4 through 6. If you had success with this part, you're going to love the next part.
That's all for this episode of the Girls Ask Guys show, where all of us learn to master this thing called life together. For more answers to your questions on life and love, be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. And head to girlsaskguyshow.com to submit your questions for a future episode or apply to be a guest on the show. Good luck out there, and we'll catch you next time, right here on the Girls Ask Guys show.